Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to tonight's edition of Teen Talk Live. I am your host, Ann Dillard. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And tonight, I don't have a guest that's joining us tonight because I wanted to just take some time and have a conversation with you and just answer some questions. And tonight, I don't have a guest that's joining and fix this so that we can have this conversation. All right, I see that we have a lot of people here already. Hey, Mary and June, Kiana, thank you for being here. And Catrice, I'm glad you're here. Hey, Woodrow, I'm so glad you're here. And Misa is joining us from Senegal. I'm so glad you all are here. Hey, Miss Beal, I'm glad you're here. I hope you can hang out for a minute. Catrice, I hope you can hang out with me for a minute. I don't have a guest tonight because I just wanted to have a conversation and get some input from my audience tonight. You know, I've been watching a lot of these TV shows, like Roxanne, and then I watched this one called Step. And hey, Queen. I'm glad you're here, Mel. And so, hey, Bolo, I'm glad you're here, sister. I've been watching these shows, like I was saying, and I've just been watching and seeing the overwhelming responsibilities that some of our teenagers have had to take on. And I've been pretty disturbed by that. And I read this one article one of my colleagues wrote, and she was saying how we talk about our teenagers and we say, you're so fast, you're so this, you're so that. And a lot of times we don't take into consideration the things that they've had to do, right? To make that turns them into what we see. So I was watching Roxanne, and again, I watched Step, the documentary. And I just wanted to have a conversation and we just talk back and forth with the audience tonight. Hey, Don VA, I'm so glad you're here. Hey, Cedric, welcome. All right, so if you all have seen any of those shows, just hashtag and put which ones you've seen so far. I see one of my PJs here. Hey, Demery. Come in. Okay. All right, Mel, I got your message. Okay, so you've seen Roxanne. All right. So tell me, what do you think about, I mean, there's just so many different things to unpack in that movie, right? What do you think about her as a teenager and the responsibilities that she's had? Because it was so amazing to me that I didn't even realize until she was blowing out her birthday cake that she was only 13 doing all that stuff that she was doing. So Miss Beal, what do you think about that? What do you think about all the responsibilities that she's had? Hey, Demery, I'm so glad you're here, girl. PJams forever. Hey, Marquita. Hey, Simone, glad you're joining us. So we're just having a conversation, no agenda, just talking about some of the responsibilities that some of our teenagers has had to assume at a young age, and how we talk about them, and then not necessarily know what their life is like that has created them and molded them to be able to assume these responsibilities. I mean, grown-up responsibilities, right? So Mel said, I think betrayed exactly what our teens, it portrayed what our teens experience. They're growing up so fast, not even enjoying being a child themselves. I mean, I couldn't have said that better, Mel. I think you are so right. She had to grow up so fast, and she had to take on so much responsibility, and not only for herself, but also for her siblings, right? Hey, Aja, thanks for joining. And not only just for herself, but also for her siblings. She had to take on the responsibility for her mom too. And I'm just thinking about sometimes some of the kids who we meet in the therapy room or in the classroom, and I think about how, they might come off hard or they might come off really angry, but we don't necessarily know everything that's going on with them. And it's so difficult. Hey, Miss Natalie, I'm glad you're here. We're just having a chat tonight and opening it up to answering questions that people might have. Right now, we're talking about Roxanne, that movie that is out on Netflix, and talking about the responsibilities that Roxanne had as a teenager, a very young teenager at that. So Mel was saying that it really portrayed some of the challenges that our teens are faced with in today's society. And I mean, that was back in the 80s, but it's still so real today, right? It's still so real. So Demry, if you're still here with me, I want you to share, what do you think about these challenges? And you as a teenager growing up, what are some of the challenges that you're faced with? Yes, Patrice, children are, having less and less opportunities to be children, and they're assuming more adult roles. And I think we talked about this on a few shows back when we talked about, because of the development that you're seeing, the physical development that we're seeing in our children, we generally forget that their brains aren't developed, their minds aren't developed, and they're still children, right? But they have so much. I think about Roxanne, Mel, and how she had to go out and make money for her family. And what was up with her mom? Kiana, what was up with her mom? Her mom kept picking on her, and every time she turned around, she was angry at her. What y'all think was going on with her mom? Yes, Catrice, it's really, really sad, and the responsibilities that our kids have today, it's not new, but it's still sad, right? So I'm glad you all are here. I'm glad you're joining. Again, this is Ann Dillard with Teen Talk Live, where we transform the minds and lives of teens and those who love them. Okay, so Demry is one of my PGems. I've loved this girl since she was in the 8th grade. I think it's hard sometimes. I have been through a lot that she did in the movie, and I can relate with having to be there for my siblings and my mother, but it made me stronger and a good mom for my son now. Well, bravo. And I'm so glad that you didn't give up, Demry, and you keep pressing forward and pressing towards your goal. Remember that song we usually sing in PGems? I'll see if you remember. Kiana, yes. Kiana said, I felt like she had way too much responsibility as at a young age, and was stripped of her childhood. That's why she looked to older men for love and acceptance. That is so, so true. That is so, so true. And the one place that she felt safe, at her friend's house, that was violated too. And she was violated there. It was just really, really sad and real and disturbing, Kiana. Yes, I agree. Yeah, Don VA, I see it. I see it. I do believe that mom gave up hope. But who was there for mom? And what was her struggle, right? Why was she in that predicament in the first place? And what skills did mom have? And I see that so much in the young people that I work with today, where, moms have given up hope. And it's so important that we, not necessarily judge. I mean, we expect moms to be in a better position to help their children, but sometimes they just don't have it. And what do? How do we help them? She worked so hard for that money for the new house. Yes, she did. And that was a lot of money. It wasn't a little amount of money. And she worked really hard, but then there is a disconnect, because why did she feel like she could trust him, her boyfriend, with all that money, right? What's the disconnect? That's the question that I'm asking. Why did she not feel like she could go out and do that on her own and get her house on her own? Demar said, I never gave up. And it was by India Arie's beautiful, yes, that was the song, India Arie, Beautiful Flower. That's right. And that was our PJAM song to reinforce in our girls that you're beautiful, you're powerful, right? You're valuable, you're more precious than diamonds. And I think if we share that with more of our young people, you know, we won't have some of the issues that we have, and they'll grow into stronger adults. Hey, Margaret, I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, Danvier, once the guy ran off, she just couldn't bounce back. And that was so sad. You know what was sad to me? After the guy ran off and she was sitting at the table with her friend didn't even have the coping skills to help her with, right? She pushed her, she gave her the drink and gave her that first drink. And it was hard for her to come back after that. And so in my mind, I'm thinking it's important that we are careful about who we surround ourselves with, right? I think about my friend circle and I'm like, we always have to help each other. We always have to build each other. We always have to look at who's around us, who can pick us up when we're down, because we don't need friends who are gonna give us or introduce us or entice us with things that's not positive, right? So Demery say, yes, I thank you for never giving up on us, Miss Ann. You really put a great impact on my life. Oh my gosh. That means a lot, Demery, coming from you, that means a lot. And I always believed in the girls and the young guys that I work with, because, you know, somehow, regardless of what you're going through, you need somebody to see beyond all of that. Because a lot of times the behaviors that you're seeing is just a result, just like in Roxanne, right? It's just a result of your circumstances. It's not who you are. And so I'm so glad that you're doing well, Demery. I'm so glad that you're taking care of your baby. I'm so glad that you're holding on to some of the things that you learned back in the 8th grade, because you deserve it and you're powerful, you're valuable, you're important, and you know, you're more precious than diamonds. And hopefully you'll be able to pass that on to your children and change some of the cycles that we're seeing in today's society. Kiana said, I think her mom was so hard on her because she wanted more for her, although she is the one that put them in that situation. She expected her girls to push through adversity, yet she didn't model that for them, how to do that. You are so right on. She didn't model it, because I'm wondering for mom, who modeled it for her, right? And I think she wanted more for them, but I'm thinking a little deeper. I think that, you know, when my girls and I were talking, we were like, okay, so she's upset at that girl's father. She has something so bad for that father that she keeps taking it out, right, on Roxanne. And so that's just, you know, some of the things that we came up with. I don't know if we're right or not, but it's so much that you can interject in there. Yeah, Don VA. Hey, Kelvin, I'm so glad you're here, Mr. KTJ. So tonight we're just talking about teens, and we're talking about some of the adversities that they're faced with, that's compelling them to grow up so much quicker in losing sight of their childhood. And then what do? We tell them you're too grown, and we pull away, right, as adults. So Mel said, exactly, that's why I stress queendom building to the highest degree. We need godly and true sistership. I love how your students value your love for them. You are a blessing to a nation queen. Thank you so much. Thank you. And yes, we do need true sistership. We do need that safe place where people can feel comfortable, you know, pulling their masks off and being present and knowing that they're valued and somebody's going to love them through whatever their circumstances are. And that's what we did. That's what we did in PGEMS. That's what we did in Girls in Action. Try to show the girls that they're valuable, they're important, they're not their circumstances, right? Don VA said that's a good point. It's hard to model something when you don't have good examples. It really is hard, Don VA, and that's why it's so important that we have positive role models in our life, because there are some things that I didn't have good role models on, but reaching outside of my immediate circle and finding people who invested in me and took time with me, that was really, really important. That's why mentorship, again, is so, so, so important. Thank you, Kelvin. That's really cool. Catrice says, yes, let them be authentic without judgment. Absolutely. Providing that safe space for our young people, for our younger, you know, I think about, okay, back to the movie Roxanne, right? When I wonder what else the teacher could have done. You know, remember when the teacher took her out in the hallway and told her that, you know, social services was there looking for her, and he lectured her a little bit. I wonder if there's something else. What do you all think? Do y'all think there was something else he could have done to help her, or to kind of understand some of the challenges that she was going through? That's been on my mind. What do you think? All right, so Sweet Thing Hinton joined us. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about teenagers growing up. So take a minute, take a second and just share this out, because I think it's really, really important that we, okay, Kelvin, I'm glad you like that. Let me finish saying this and then let me ask you a question. I think it's really important that we look at this and we think about it from the perspective of what has happened to you versus what's wrong with you, right? And everybody's saying that Oprah made this popular, but she didn't. She just brought it up on 60 Minutes not too long ago. But as therapists and as trauma-informed mental health providers, we've been asking this question a long time. What has happened to the person versus what's wrong with that person, right? So, Kelvin, from a male's perspective, right? When we were looking at Roxanne, the movie, and saw the void in that young girl's life, what are some of the things that you saw that was missing that really drew her into that lifestyle? What were some of the things as a man you saw? So Margaret, yes, she did not. It's something, thinking about just so many different dynamics that that played out in this movie. And if you all have not watched Step, that documentary where they followed, I think they followed like 4 or 5 students. I think they were in Baltimore, seniors. That's a really, really good one to also check out. So Don Villa said, yes, and I thank you for being a positive role model in my life and mentoring me from my teenage years into adulthood. It has really had a good impact on me and how I carry myself and helped me become the woman I am today. Wow. Y'all gonna make me cry. Don VA, girl, you know I love you and I am so proud of you. And I'm so glad to see how you have, you've surpassed so many challenges and you've pressed through them and have become the woman you are today. Kudos to you. And God bless you. So Kelvin, I noticed there was no father, which caused her to end up with a man old enough to be her father. That is so true. And a lot of times we say that girls are looking for their father, right? Girls are looking for their father. I was one of those girls. I think also we forget that boys are also looking for their fathers, right? But definitely with her, she was definitely missing that father figure. And she looked, you know, it was like boys her age couldn't do nothing for her. That was so plain. The hospital said, your father and brother are here. Yes, that was powerful because that was her son and her boyfriend who had beat her up. And oh my gosh, yeah, that spoke volumes. And Margaret said, that's a good point. Hey, Toya, glad you're here. Hey, Romaine, cuz glad you're here. Again, we're talking about teenage girls growing up so fast and looking at the circumstances instead of looking at the girls to say, what's wrong with you? You're too fast. I think we should just stop saying that about our girls, that you're just too fast, because a lot of times we don't have the backstory. We don't know the history. We don't know that a lot of times they have to assume those roles, and you don't just turn it off. You know, you be grown at home and do the parenting role at home, take care of your siblings and everything like that. But then you go to school and automatically turn that off and become that student. It doesn't work like that. And I think we need to reevaluate how we talk about our teenagers and the different circumstances that they're faced with, right? So it doesn't help. It doesn't help them. And I agree, Don VA, it doesn't help. And I think if we work more towards, again, looking at the lens of what has happened to that teenager and how can I come alongside that teenager and be a positive, non-judgmental role model in her life, how can I come along and help her along, you know, the way? And she might push back at first because, again, she's doing it in her eyes. She's doing her own thing. She's being mother, sister, auntie, provider, everything that she believes she needs, right? So she might push back. But how do you come along and, yes, Don VA, build them up and form that trusting, safe relationship where, you know, she can cry, she can be a little girl, she can learn how to be a responsible young woman and not take on the cares of the world. I think that's our role as older, more mature, seasoned women. Our role is really to reach out and mentor somebody, find somebody, you know, to be a part of their life instead of talking about them. And I think we have a responsibility to do that, right? I think as fathers and adult male, we have a responsibility to show up in some places to be that positive role model, to help our children and our young girls see something different so that they can learn to expect something different, right? So I'm so glad that you all, hey Orlando, I'm so glad that you all joined in tonight with Teen Talk Live. I just wanted to just be here and just have this conversation with you and open it up for questions. If you all have questions, just drop it in the comment section. And remember, share this out so somebody else can benefit from this dialogue that we're having. I think it's a really important conversation to have. Hey, Manny, I'm so glad you joined us. I think it's a really important conversation to have. I think also it's important that we, as adults, watch our words and watch how we're interacting, how we're judging the teenagers in our lives. And if you haven't seen that movie, Roxanne, I think it's a really good movie to take some time and look at, to get a deeper understanding of what our teenagers, not all of them, but a lot of them, are going through. And especially, I think it's It should be required for every teacher, every school in the inner city to look at that movie and kind of get a perspective of where our students are coming from and some of the challenges that they bring with them, right? So if you all have any questions, I'm gonna stay on for a few more minutes. If you have any questions, drop it in the comment section, or if I miss anything in this discussion, drop it in the comment section. And if you're still with me, I want you to just send hashtag mentoring, because mentoring has the power to change lives, right? Hashtag mentoring. Hey, Samara, welcome. I'm glad you're here. So just put it in the comment, whether you're live with me or you're catching me on the replay, hashtag mentoring. That mentoring has such a powerful, powerful ability to change some lives. Just think about if Roxanne had a strong woman mentor in her life. Think about how differently her childhood could have been. She might have actually would have had a childhood if there was a strong woman mentor in her life. And mentors don't just benefit that individual, that teenager, it benefits the whole family. And I think we can't say enough about the importance of showing up non-judgmental, creating that space where teenagers can be themselves, be authentic, share without judgment, and get the benefit of our wisdom, get the benefit of our insight and our experiences. So maybe they won't have to deal with some of those things, right? Well, I'm so glad that you were here with me today. I just had to get that off my chest. Kelvin, I'm so glad that you're here, giving me the male perspective. That is very, very important. Lots of males are missing from our teenage girls' lives. And shout out to all the men who show up for their daughters and somebody else's daughter as well. That is very important. I'm wrapping up, and I just want to say thank you. Yes, Catrice, I mean, yes, it's so important. Yes, so I want to say thank you all for just popping in with me and having this conversation with me, and share this out, and let's keep talking about it, because we have the power to make a difference in so many lives. I'm so glad for my mentees who joined tonight. Danvier, I love you, girl. I'm looking forward to this wedding that's coming up. That's so exciting. And Demry, I'm so proud of you. Keep taking care of that little boy, and you'll shield him from some of those things that you've gone through yourself. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Again, this has been Ann Dillard, licensed marriage and family therapist, with another episode of Teen Talk Live, where we're transforming the lives and minds of teens. Have a good night.